My next guest, he's a professional mixed martial artist with a perfect record of 3 wins with no losses. He is currently set to appear and compete on Dana White's The Contender series when he takes on Bo Nickal. Please welcome onto the show, Zack Borrego. How you doing, Zack?
What's up, my man? Pretty good, pretty good. Just finished training. About to get a little massage session in and feel good the rest of Sunday.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, man. I appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Of course, no, man, of course.
No secret here. You got a big fight coming up. Huge opportunity for you. I'm sure it's no secret that it's a goal of yours, obviously, to go out there and attain. But before we get into what's going to happen in the future, how is life for Zack Borrego right now, man? How is everything going for you, man?
It's doing pretty good. It's kind of um, you know switched up a little bit within the past couple of weeks with this announcement.
Yeah.
I just got back from Vegas, planning on spending the last couple of weeks of camp, so I'll be back out there, pretty soon. It's been quick. I think that's kind of the word that sums it up. A lot of stuff is changed, but at the same time, I'm staying grounded and really just enjoying, the opportunity and appreciating everything that comes with it.
Definitely. A wise man once told me, be ready for special, right? You never know when special is going to come into your life. You're trying to attain, accomplish goals. You're doing your thing. You're working hard, but always be ready for special because you never know when that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, that's some good advice, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, for you, Zack, you are 3-0 as a professional. How did you start in this career of mixed martial arts? Why did you decide to do this, man?
Yeah, so I kind of have like I wouldn't say too different. There's a lot of people whose background is similar, but my father actually owns a martial arts school. So ever since I could walk, basically, I've been doing martial arts. Our base system is traditional karate. So I started out doing like point karate. From there, we kind of ventured off into the Taekwondo scene. As a teenager, I competed in a junior Olympic Taekwondo trial. Went all the way to Seoul, South Korea to compete, where I ended up placing a silver medal. From there, at that time, we also kind of brought in a kickboxing, Muay Thai kickboxing program. So as a teenager, I also started taking on and learning the system of Muay Thai. And then, of course, we've always had our Japanese system has ground fighting. So we would compete in jiu-jitsu tournaments. We had a jiu-jitsu program for a while. We've now switched it up to a submission wrestling. So a lot of kind of to prioritize like the MMA wrestling aspect of it. But, I've always been involved in combat sports. My dad's background, he started off as a boxer, learned martial arts from his uncle. And then same thing, his path was kind of similar to mine. As a kid, he learned different styles. And then when he was about 26, 27, he made the decision that he wanted to open up a school. So that's kind of how that happened. That's how my life has been involved with martial arts basically the whole time. I did take a break after high school. I went and played college football for a while. Once I finished with that, I got back and was basically just itching to do something competitive. So I got back into the kickboxing scene. I had a few kickboxing amateur fights. But MMA was always kind of the goal, and kickboxing was what I love to do. But at the same time, I don't think it's as big as MMA is. And so about 2.5 years ago, I made the transition to start dedicating and training MMA full time.
And I see you have an Alabama hat on there. Are you a fan of the football program there?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Bama. I actually use this, so I put my nickname on there.
Yeah.
Just for the A. So my nickname's the Dragon. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, are you, dissing?" I'm a Texas fan too, but I definitely love Alabama as well.
I don't know, man. Alabama might start declining just a little bit with NIL.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough, man. I think every college is kind of finding out different ways to get around that. So it's gonna be different, but I think Bama's still Bama.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now, I know you trained with Mr. Primetime himself, Mr. Isaac Moreno, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, shout out to him, man. He talks highly about you and all that good stuff, man. You're a savage, that's I guess the best way he's put it for me there. So
Yeah.
shout out to him. Now, for you, Zack, when did you have your first fight? How did that feel for you, man? I mean, does it kind of change? Because you said you play football, right? Is there a big difference from, competing and doing football and then competing MMA for you, man, as an athlete?
For sure. The biggest difference is obviously in football, it's a team sport, whereas MMA and fighting in general is, you have a very solid team behind you, but at the end of the day, it's you stepping in that ring. So that's kind of the biggest difference. For me though, like I said, I've always been a competitor at heart. Football was what I chose to do, but I would have probably I'm the type of person where if we're on the track, and you run a lap in a minute and 30 seconds, I'm going to try to beat that. Like, it's just, no matter what we do, I'm a competitor. And so that's kind of what led me into, the martial arts game. And another thing too, is like, I can't see myself not training, you know what I mean? And when you're in the gym as much as I am, 2 or 3 times a day, it kind of just leads to what I want to look for a fight, like I said, I did have a kickboxing amateur career first. I was 2-0 in that kickboxing amateur, scene. And MMA was always in the back of my mind, but at the time COVID was going on, so it was really hard to find fights, especially as an amateur. We ended up finding a couple of fights in Louisiana and Mississippi, so that's kind of how I got started off, with my amateur MMA scene. I did the amateurs for a year, my last fight being for the Fury FC amateur middleweight belt, which I unfortunately lost, but at the same time, I learned so much from that loss and learned a lot that I took over into my pro career. I've only been a pro for, a couple of, really half a year. Like, I turned pro at the beginning of the year. My first professional fight was in February. And it's kind of just been a journey straight to the top ever since.
So when you're doing football and then or MMA, does adrenaline kind of change when you're in MMA though, compared to, football? Like when you're actually
For
in live
sure, man.
competing?
I don't think I was ever as nervous as I was for a football game, as I am when I'm stepping into the cage. But at the same time, I feel like football really did teach me to prepare for those big moments. I had games in college where I played in Cowboy Stadium and was kind of just surrounded by, a bigger atmosphere than I was used to. And not only did it teach me to prepare for that, but it also kind of taught me how to, like I said, enjoy the moment. Kind of just don't let the moment be bigger than yourself. And I'm very grateful for that. And then, of course, being a competitor as a kid, going to South Korea to compete when I was 14 years old. Even the point karate scene, a lot of people sleep on the point karate scene, but the point karate scene has a lot of, talent that's all over the nation. And if you've ever seen a point karate fight, they're really entertaining and it brings a crowd. And
Yes,
so all those moments kind of help, prepare me for I guess this MMA stage that I'm in now.
definitely. Now, MMA and football, two great sports, right? Very, very popular. They're killing it here in the US. Football is different than MMA, of course, no secret here. For you though, going the route of the MMA scene here, it's tough, right? There's more, there's a lot of things you got that have to go right to get to, being a top-notch guy, making, millions, right? As to the
Mhm.
NFL, where, you're again competing at a high level, you go to the college scene and then you go to the NFL, you're making, pretty damn good money.
Yeah.
When you get to the NFL, even as a backup or a third stringer here. MMA is different, man. MMA is different. It's a different route. What motivates you, man? What keeps you going and what keeps you grinding, though? Because I think football is a team sport. MMA is just singular, man. It's just you out there.
Yeah, a big motivation for me, is the fact that, like, my my family's way of income, my family's business is our martial arts school.
Yeah.
So a big part of me believes and kind of feels, and whenever I step into the cage, I have the chip on my shoulder as if like this is my life. This is what brings my family, money to eat and to sleep, and I really take that and put it in my heart to show that what we're teaching is real and it's practical. And I know the sacrifice that both of my parents have done before to get me to this point. So that's definitely a big driving factor for myself, is knowing where I come from, knowing that I come from a martial arts family, and being able to represent them at the highest levels. Not only that, I have a very supportive system behind me. My girlfriend, who I've been with for 8 years, My best friends who've been with me, ever since I was a kid, they've all kind of, helped me, because like I said, I graduated college. I have a degree. I work a good job. There's things for me that have opened up that I wouldn't necessarily need to fight. But at the same time, they know that this is what I love, and they know that my passion is in there. And like I said, I really want to be the best. I want to compete against the best in the world. And they see that drive, and they're behind me 100%. So no matter how big, the moment is, whenever I'm in those situations where it seems like, there's a lot of stress behind it, they're kind of the driving factor behind, me getting through it.
Now, for you, Zach, now as we're in present time here, Dana White's the Contender Series, right? Huge event, huge opportunity for you. You will be fighting there. Now, I believe that's going to be August 9th, correct?
August 9th, yes, sir.
Yes, and you're fighting Bo Nickal. So before we get to the fight, man, I mean, how what emotions ran through you, right? Because you're an MMA fighter, right? It's like, you're a football player. You want to go to the NFL. MMA fighter, the UFC is the standard. That's where you want to be at, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So yeah, that is the standard there. So for you, Zach, how did it feel to be able to land this opportunity, to earn this opportunity? Because earn and deserve are two different things. You've earned this opportunity, man. How did that feel for you?
It was a moment, when the opportunity presented itself, that just felt really surreal. I almost didn't want to believe it. And, after I just, like I said, just got back from Vegas, after thinking back on the trip, I'm like, this is insane. Like, just 2 weeks ago, I'm struggling to find, how I'm going to stay. Cause I did just fight 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
in New Orleans. And, I remember like the struggle that my family and my team are going through. How are we going to get there? How are we going to pay for our hotel room? How are we going to drive back? And then all of a sudden the UFC's flying me out, and, I have a driver, and it's insane. It really
Yeah,
is.
crazy.
And, at the same time, as much as that feeling is, and how big it can, feel at times, at the end of the day, I have to just remind myself, I've been putting in work basically my whole life for this opportunity. I remember watching UFCs as a kid and just thinking like, man, I would love to do that. And I'd be lying if I said that, being in the UFC like isn't one of my biggest dreams ever, and so because of that, that's kind of been my push as to how hard I work. Like I said, I'm in the gym multiple times a day, and I know everyone says that, but there's always been a passion to be at the next level, and to compete at the next level. And so that's, something that I'm really just kind of looking forward to the opportunity, and taking everything in, like I said, but I'm also ready to perform and put on a show.
How was the UFC PI? I've never asked anyone that. I'm just very curious, man. How is that beautiful facility?
Man, so we were actually in the Apex.
Okay.
We didn't get to see the PI. There's a funny story that I have, about that. The reason for that was because the day that we had our interviews, the PI was actually being used by the fighters that were fighting. They just fought yesterday. So we unfortunately couldn't see the PI. But the funny story is, so the night before, I was working out in like the hotel gym, and there was this guy that, was a pretty big dude. I didn't really know who he was, but I could tell he was, a fighter. And we ended up like seeing each other multiple times. And so at the gym, we kind of introduced ourselves, and I found out he was fighting on the Contender Series. He was a heavyweight from Poland. Didn't really speak that much English. So we kind of, just gave each other knuckles, and that was that. So I ended up seeing him the next day, and we saw each other. I was probably leaving the gym like at 11:30. He's going up to the room, and he's telling me like if I want to go to the PI, in his broken, English way, like the PI is open, like there's a shuttle, and he's saying this in like broken sentences, and I'm thinking like this dude is like, I don't know what he's saying, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, no, they told us it was closed. We can't go. Well, sure enough, I guess like they opened it up from like 11 to 1 in the morning or something like that, and there was a shuttle that was taking people, UFC people, of course, that wanted to work out. So I see him on Instagram like at 11:30, and he's like working out. I'm like, oh, that's what that meant. Like I had the opportunity to go, and I couldn't understand what he was saying. So yeah.
Now, as we're wrapping this up here, Zach, you're fighting Bo Nickal, right? Bo Nickal's a name out there in the MMA scene that a lot of people aren't paying attention to. It's a big opportunity for you. what do you have to say about this fight, man? What can people expect from you who maybe don't know who Zack Borrego is and are going to tune in to watch Bo Nickal, man? I mean, what's your mentality like? Does it add pressure? What do you got to say to people that don't know who you are yet?
Yeah, I'm excited for this fight for that exact reason. He does have a lot of hype behind him. He is a big name. And in the MMA scene and in the wrestling scene, especially in the East Coast, because wrestling's so big, there's a lot of people that are going to tune in for that. I think for myself, it's an excellent opportunity, to take that. A lot of people sometimes have to work to the 8-0s, 9-0s, 10-0s to finally get some type of notoriety. I have an opportunity, a beautiful opportunity to do that now, quick and early in my career. And I think, a lot of people, throughout, not only through the media, but through, just people around, friends who follow the MMA game, they're like, are you ready for this challenge? There's two things that, I kind of have to say about that. One, the dude is 1-0. I understand he's a 3-time national champ, but it's not like he is a national champion of mixed martial arts. You know what I mean?
For sure.
He's had 2 amateur fights, and I think it's an excellent opportunity for myself to, like I said, to capitalize on the hype that he brings and make a name for myself. The second thing about that is I've always said, like, I was in this MMA game to test myself against the best in the world. I want to fight against the best fighters in the world. And eventually I feel like that'll lead me to a top spot and compete for a world title. I know that comes down the road. I'm not saying I'm going to do that within the next 6 months or something, but that's always been my goal. I want to compete against the best. Like I said, I'm a competitor at heart. So, the fact that I get this opportunity to test myself against a 3-time national champ wrestler is like, I'm excited for the challenge. I'm not one to back down from the challenge. I'm a fighter at heart. You know what I mean?
Sure.
If I turn this into a wrestling match, then of course we're going to probably, see what the hype is about. But thankfully, this isn't a wrestling match. It's an MMA match where we can throw kicks and punches and elbows and slap gears. And, there's so much stuff. There's so much variables in a fight that I'm just really excited I have the opportunity to showcase my skills. Like I said, there is a lot of pressure, there is a lot of talk. But I'm just keeping a level head, man, and really excited to kind of quiet out the noise August 9th.
Definitely. You're only as good as your competition, right? Or what you compete against, as what someone said. And really, realistically, like for you, it's a great opportunity for you. I mean, there's the attention's on him. The pressure is not on you. I mean, there's pressure for you, but really, like, you know what I mean? This is a win-win for you. You're out there, you're going to test yourself, go out there, possibly get a UFC contract there.
Yeah. Then, like I said, man, I just think that, I'm not very religious, but I do have faith. And my faith says that, God's timing is perfect. And
Absolutely.
The fact that he gave me this opportunity, I would be crazy not to take it, and my goal, like I said, has always been to compete against the best, to compete in the UFC. And the fact that I've asked for it, and it got presented to me just tells me that this is the right time and this is the right fight that I got to do.
Thank you so much, Zack. Zack, real quick, before we finish this, man, is there anything you want to let the audience know?
I just want to, of course, thank my home gym, DKA MMA. We're out of San Antonio, Texas, specifically the south side of San Antonio. I know you're a San Antonio native now,
Sure.
so you know how supportive the south side of San Antonio can be. Everyone, that has been there from the start of my career, there's so many people that have seen talent in myself when I myself didn't see it, And so I just want to thank them, the sponsors that are behind me. There's so many to mention that, I always leave one out and I feel so bad. So I'm just going to say thank you to all my sponsors, my teammates, everyone I train with. And I believe August 9th, I truly believe that we're going to put on a hell of a show. I think we're going to both show how hungry, how young and eager we are for that UFC contract. And I'm really just excited to shock the world, man, basically.
Awesome. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is 3-0 professional mixed martial artist Zack Borrego. He'll be taking on Bo Nickal August 9th on Dana White's The Contender series. Zack, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Thank you, man.